What's going on, guys? Jurassic here. Today we have a Final Fantasy XIV tutorial. We're going to be learning about how to get a collapsible hotbar. Alright, so to start with, you want to head over to your HUD layout. Now from here, we already have our two hotbars set, but you want to be moving hotbar 9 and 10 over to the bottom right corner if you want the plus sign down here, or if you want it somewhere else, feel free to move it wherever you want. Now you want to click on the UI element settings. From here, this is where you can actually toggle your hotbars on and off. You are going to need hotbar 10 turned on, and hotbar 9 you can keep turned off, but inside this menu, you click on save. That's going to actually allow you to move it, and then you just click and drag. If you want to have it set all the way at the bottom so it cuts the numbers off, you're actually able to move it better inside of this HUD menu, and then you can just leave it there. Once you're done, you can close it out. There's a couple settings if you want to like change the things. You can have it so it's much larger or much smaller if you just want a real small hotbar over on the side. You can also mess with their transparency settings some if you prefer. Alright, so now that you have your two hotbars down here at the bottom, you can exit this screen. Alright, so now that we have the basics done and over with, I'm going to show you the overall theory behind what we're trying to accomplish today. So all we have to do is click the plus sign, and then you can swap to any job class, for example tanks, and we can head over to our gladiator. The gladiator is going to be our default class that we're using for today's example. However, it doesn't matter which class that you're using, as long as they actually have a job stone being able to take on and take off. So for example, the gladiator, it turns into the paladin, and they have a completely different hotbar set. The reason why this is important is you're not going to be using the gladiator beyond level 30 since it takes over into the paladin that we have more skills. So you can use the default layout that they had for you inside the game to fully customize to get basically an infinite amount of hotbars. Going to be able to do this method with every class except for the trading jobs because they don't actually have a soul crystal. Alright, so a few things to set up before we get into it. You want to head over to the character configuration. If you're on PC, you want to click the K key. Alright, so now that you're in the character configuration, you want to head over to the hotbar settings. From here, to make it a little bit easier to follow, we're going to have it so it has the hide unassigned slots checked off. Alright, so now that we have the hide unassigned slots, you want to scroll down some and make sure that you have hotbar 10 selected also to be showing all the time. Hotbar 9, it's fine for this one to be turned off since we're going to have a toggle in the macros to turn that bar on and off at whim. So next up, we want to head over to the sharing tab. This is where it gets a little bit crazy. So you want to share your hotbar 10 with all of your different jobs. The reason why you want to do this is that way you actually are able to use your macros. But the funny thing is you don't want to have this shared hotbar on all the time. The reason why, if you have this selected, it's going to override what we're trying to do to have the toggle to be able to see the jobs. So as you see, once we have hotbar 10 sharing all the time, it's going to block this button completely from working. It's just going to make a little thud noise and nothing's going to happen. However, when we unselect it, now everything's going to start working again. That's because we're no longer sharing hotbar 10, and our macro is able to turn hotbar 10 into what we're trying to do. Alright, so now that we have our hotbars set up and you want to have it shared currently, once we get everything set up and you swap over to all your jobs, you head back over to the character configuration and you turn hotbar 10 back off. For now, we can just leave it on though, that way I'm going to just follow along with everybody else. Alright, so we want to head over to System, and then this is where you head to your user macros. Now, once again, it does not matter which class you're picking. For today's example, we're using gladiators, so the acronym is GLA. If you head over to your character sheet, and then click on any weapon, you're going to notice that it'll have an acronym that'll tell you exactly what you need. For example, the Black Mage, THM, or BLM. We're going to be using the gladiator for a majority of it, and then our additional hotbar we're going to be using is the Black Mage, just in case you guys are wanting to have an additional hotbar setup. I wanted to make sure it worked for you guys. Alright, so we're going to start with hotbar 1. That's going to be this one right here in the front. So to do this, you want to start with hotbar copy gladiator 1 to current 9. That's going to copy our hotbar 1 over to 9, which is going to be the hidden slot right here on the right side. We're also going to have this button display hotbar 9, so that's why we don't want 9 displayed all the time. This little plus sign here will be able to do that for us. Now, this next step you don't actually need, however, I automated it. That way, whenever I swap to the class, it's going to automatically close the hotbar for me. If you don't want that, all you have to do is just get rid of this line. So your code will look like this. if you want it to close automatically for you after you swap classes, you want to have this /weight 7, hotbar display 9 off, and then hotbar copy gladiator 7 current 10. Now the reason why we're displaying gladiator 7 we'll get to later on, but basically that's going to be our step that has the plus sign that'll open up over here. Just leave that for now. If you're not worrying about it automated, you'll just have these top 2 lines. Now if you want to change your symbol that way it looks like a tank symbol, you can right click in the image up top here and you can pick any of the easy icons you want to, or if you find a cool mycon, you're able to change them later on. So now that we have our tank set up, we're going to do the same thing for the healers. We're going to be working on hotbar 2. We're just going to be working on setting up the macros, and we'll worry about the hotbars down here in the bottom later on. Alright, so for the healers, we want to copy gladiator 2 to current 9. Basically, it's going to be the exact same setup as the tanks. The only difference is we're swapping hotbar 1 to hotbar 2. Everything else code-wise is staying the exact same. Once again, the weight 7, display 9, and the hotbar copy gladiator 7 current 10. That is only if you want to automate it. If not, you'll just have these top 2 lines. Do the same thing for melee. This is going to be gladiator 3. Now, we are going to do something a little bit different. This is going to be an additional page. So we want to have hotbar gladiator 4 current 9. This is going to be our 4th gladiator hotbar. We're going to display 9, and then we're actually going to add a unique item here. So we're going to use a mycon target back. This makes the back arrow look a little bit nicer. This is going to open up an additional hotbar on the side. That way, if you want to put more buttons on there, you're able to. And everything else is going to be the same. That's the only thing different is this mycon target back. Alright, so now that we're into the DPS casters, this is going to be copy gladiator 5 to current 9. Hotbar display 9, and then the same code that we had originally. And then once again, the same thing for your jobs. It's going to be copy gladiator 6 current 9, display 9, and then the rest of the same. Description down below, I will have a text that you're able to literally just to copy and paste with this exact code, and you can make it yourself. So now we're going to have the plus sign. This is going to be /hotbar copy gladiator 8 current 10. This is going to copy our 8th hotbar over to our current hotbar, which will be 10 over here in the corner. That's going to allow us to have the plus sign down here in the bottom on every single roll as long as we're sharing it. So once again, we'll have that shared, swap over to all the classes, the plus will magically appear there, and then afterwards we can unselect it and it'll go away and you don't ever have to worry about it not working. Everything else we didn't necessarily need to label, we could just use it based on symbols. This is where you want to at least have a 1 or something else in the name slot. That way you're able to keep track of which one's which. So for the first minus sign, we're going to have hotbar copy gladiator 7 current 10. This is going to be different than the next minus sign, which is going to be /hotbar display 9 off. Basically, these are going to be your toggles. That way, if you want to manually close it out, you're able to do that without having any issues. So let's unshare this real quick. That way I can show you what I mean. So like, for example, healers, if we click the minus sign, that's going to automatically close that list, and that minus sign there will close that. So it goes back to the plus sign. And then this last one is really easy. /BGM. This is going to turn your background music on and off. So if you guys get tired of the music, all you have to do is click this. The music will automatically cut off and you don't have to worry about it, or you can turn it back on. So now that you've figured out how to set up your macros, let's work on our hotbar. So we're going to be working on hotbar 1, and then we'll move down the list. We're just going to be working on this bar at the top here. Don't worry about the bottom bar. Just focus on one bar at a time. We'll try to keep it as simple to follow as possible. So we have a couple different options here, but for one, we're going to start with the minus signs. So we're going to grab number 2, which is going to be all the way on the right side here. Which should be this guy right here. We're going to move this over to slot 5. It doesn't necessarily matter where you have it, it's just that there's only a certain amount of jobs on the left side that's needed, so that's why we have it in the 5th slot. If you wanted to put it further down here, that's completely okay as well. Now, you can have a couple different choices here, which I find is really interesting. So we can head over to our gear set by clicking C is the quick way, and then you head over to your gear set list. And then if you just want the default icons, like for example gladiator, or if we wanted a paladin icon, we just click and drag the paladin symbol and it'll lock into place. And if you're curious about testing it, you just click on the tanks icon and you'll have the paladin symbol right here. However, we also have another option. So the second option on the list here is going to be heading over to the macro list, and you want to be inside of the shared category. You have to be in the shared for this to work. If not, it's going to keep defaulting and it won't work for you. You want to head over to any slot available, and you're going to type in /mycon. Now, this line is going to be similar to each different class that you're changing to. Basically, it's going to be quotation mark and then it's soul of, and then this is where you fill in the class that you're trying to copy. For example, this is going to be soul of the paladin, and then you want to have item. /GS, this is where it's going to differ completely based on whatever you have set up on your own item list. You're set 6, which is going to be GS change 6. This is going to be my 6 bar. As you guys can see, paladin is my 6th slot, which is why it's GS change 6. If it was in a different slot, like for example, my black mage is on 5, it would say /GS change 5. And then this weight 7, display 9 off, hotbar gladiator 7, current 10, that's so it automates it to close automatically for you. If you don't want that, you don't have to go that far, or even if you don't want the symbol. Now, one thing to keep in mind, I'm going to remove that for now just so you guys can see. See how this actually shows your gear score where this symbol won't say anything at all and it won't even be labeled? If you at least put a name at the top here, you'll be able to tell like what it actually is. You're not going to be able to see your gear score, but at least you can see like what that symbol's supposed to be if you don't know symbols. So this is where you set up your tanks. So anything that you want to tank with, you have over here on the left side. So typically you have about 4. If you have more tanks, then you can move it down on the right. And then I have the default job classes over on the right side here. That way we can swap to a little bit easier, especially for like your main primary ones that we're going to be using. I have this build set up to where it's going to be using 2 different classes. That way we're able to get a little bit more hotbars. However, if you want more, you just add the defaults down here on the right side. That way we can swap to them easily and change back and forth. All right, so now that we have the tank set up, let's head over to the second hotbar. This is where we have our healers set up. We have the same button number 2, which is going to be the minus sign on the right side on slot 5. You can have it on any slot you want, but this is mainly just because we only have a certain amount of healers and that's where it fits to have everything maxed out. Number 3, this is going to be for your melee DPS classes. We're going to have button number 2 dragged over to slot 7. This is where you go to your gear set list, and then just drag whatever characters that you want there, or you can make your mycons if you want to have the better images. Number 4, this is going to be our additional bar, so we're going to have a bunch of extra stuff here. So we are just going to drag number 2, which is going to be the one on the right side, all the way over to the far end here, and that's going to allow us to have a couple spots to actually just drag and drop whatever we want. Hotbar number 5, this is going to be our caster DPS. We're going to drag number 2 over to slot 9. That'll give us 8 slots of free casters available to us. Once again, for the black mage that we made earlier, this is where we have the /mycon soul the black mage item. Make sure you have the item list here. This is going to be soul of whatever you're trying to change to, and then it'll be that symbol. You do /GS change, and then whatever yours is at. So mine's on the 5th slot. If it was on the 9th slot, for example, it would say /GS change 9. Then once again, this line down here on the bottom, that's only to automate it to close for you. And then you can drag the default down here because this is another one that I'm going to be using for the example. However, if you don't want to use the thaumaturge, you can use literally any other class. I just have an additional one, that way we get more hotbars in case you're wanting it. Now that we got done with our casters, let's head over to hotbar 6, which is going to be our job list. You want to have the number 2 set all the way over here on the far right. That's going to allow us to have plenty of room to add in all the jobs available to us. Jobs are going to be a little bit different than the rest. They don't have any soul gems, so we literally just head over to the gear set and you grab whatever job you want. You drag it down here and you're good to go. I have 2 set up for the blacksmith. That way I have 1 set up for the XIV. That way it has the feathers automatically on there. If you're wanting to do that also, the easiest way to do it, it would be to right click on it and change that name, call it something else, then resave the gear set. And then you can call it blacksmith again, and then you can call your next one whatever you want. That way you have 2 options. Make it a little bit simpler, or at least it does in my mind. Alright, so we got your job sets all done. Let's head over to Hotbar 7. So now when we head over to Hotbar 7, this is going to be the very basic hotbar that you don't want anything else on. So we're only going to be dragging the plus sign all the way over to the far right. This is what we toggle on and off to turn our hotbar 10 into actually viewing hotbar 8. Hotbar 8 is going to have all the items on it. Hotbar 7 is literally going to be blank just with the plus sign down here. Alright, so hotbar 8. This is where we're going to go fancy. Literally everything that we made earlier, we just drag and drop over into each of these different slots here. Now I have an additional arrow, which we'll get into in a second. That's going to be for your additional job that you're wanting to. Alright, so now that you move the icons to however you want set up, we do have an additional row here. Now these are going to be for the second class that I was talking about earlier. So I have it set so my thaumaturge also opens up an additional slot in case you're wanting more places. Once again, the weight 7, this is going to be additional things. You don't necessarily need it. However, that'll just automate everything. That way it goes back to the gladiator setup and close automatically for you. So we're going to do the exact same thing as before. We're going to /hotbar copy. Then you're going to do whatever acronym for the class that you're wanting. And then the hotbar, and then current 9. So for example, if we head over to my thaumaturge, my hotbar 4, this is where it's going to have a whole bunch of random items that we can drag and drop. So to do this, all we have to do is scroll down the list here to hotbar 4. I have all of the important buttons down here to save. So for example, we have ready checks, we have party finder, crafting log, hunting log, emotes, and your saddlebag. You don't necessarily need to have these on your hotbar. If you don't want it, that's fine. I figured it's a little bit easier to have a button to click to go there, and then we also have the music list down here. So the way this looks, you hit the plus sign, then you click the additional arrow key that we set, and then this is going to pop up the list here. So like if you were wanting to get emotes, you click on the emote tab and it'll pop up all of the emotes available to you. With that said, I picked the random arrow, so that'll be on page 3. I couldn't find any cool like hunting log icons. Unfortunately, they don't let you use the icons that they have down here. So we're stuck with having an up arrow. Now, an additional thing that you could do is you can do this with as much as you want. So I have a down arrow, which is going to be in our bar 8 here. That's going to just copy our bar 3 to the current 9. So bar 3, this is what I have set up for like some random emotes in case you're ever wanting to. So for example, you just click that and you can get a thumbs up or whatever emote that you want inside the list there. So to do that, you want to head over to your emote button and then literally you just drag and drop it into the hotbar. Very simple. Once again, we want to have number 2, which is going to be the second minus sign set on any of the hotbars. That's going to close it back out. This is basically just your default to turn the left side bar off for you. So most things are going to require that there's going to be only one bar that actually uses the other minus sign. Alright, so now that we figured out how to do the additional hotbars, just in case you want to have more slots available to you, let's head back over to our class that we were working on originally. And this is where we can move our background music on and off. That's just going to the plus side and you'll have like a little BGM sign here. This is actually a image that we picked. So we right click that and on page 5, we can go with the music note. Number 9, that's just going to be displaying whatever we had set previously. So that'll always be on. Same with 10, that's going to also be doing the same thing. So you don't have to worry about slots 9 or 10 for this list. All right, so now that you have all of your hotbars set up, let's close out of the user macro list. Let's head back over to the character configuration. Once again, if you don't know how to get there, click K. Now there's a few things that we can do to clean it up some. So if we head back over to the display tab, we click this hide unassigned slots. That'll remove all of the additional buttons. And then once again, you want to make sure that hotbar 10 is selected. That way you see it down here. You don't need to see hotbar 9, but as long as you have 10 selected, you'll be good to go. Click apply. Then after you swap to all your different jobs, you can turn off hotbar 10. So for example, if you had it lit, make sure you have it unlit, which will then have full access to the plus sign working. Or if we want to swap over to our paladin class, we click it through that. And as you guys can see here in a second, it's going to automatically close out for us. I know it's a little bit complicated to set up the macros, but I wanted to try to fully explain everything for you. So if this guide helps break down what you need to do to get everything working, let me know down in the description down below, and I will see you guys in the next one. Hope this tutorial helps you guys figure out how to get your collapsible hotbars working in Final Fantasy XIV.